Welcome back. A parents group now urging the Trump administration to investigate the YMCA for what it claims is unlawful gender-based discrimination in its programs and policies. The American Parents Coalition says the YMCA is violating Title IX by allowing access to facilities based on gender identity.
Yeah, in a letter to HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Education Secretary Linda McMahon, and HUD Secretary Scott Turner, American Parents Coalition Executive Director Alleigh Marre writing, quote, "The YMCA's policy of disfavoring and empowering young girls and favoring and empowering those who choose to present as a gender other than their own is antithetical to the principles of federal civil rights law and gender equality," end quote. In fact, on its website, the YMCA states this, that it receives more than $600 million in government grants. Newsmax has reached out to the Trump administration for comment. Have not heard back just yet. Alleigh Marre, who we just quoted there, is the executive director of American Parents Coalition. She joins us now. Alleigh, good to see you, and thank you so much for coming on. And, reading that quote, why do you believe that now the government really needs to get involved here in this situation?
Well, as you stated, the YMCA is in receipt of more than $600 million in taxpayer funds every year. That's certainly not chump change, excuse me. And so to be in receipt of that, a requirement is to follow federal law. And once the Trump administration began, the president made it extremely clear what Title IX means, and that is the protection of women and girls. Since 2017, actually, the Y has had recommendations on its website related to who can use which bathrooms, who can play on which teams, locker rooms, and even overnight accommodations in camps. And that was based on gender identity, not sex. And so that's a huge cause for concern for many parents across the country, especially as we move into summer, where parents are relying on the YMCA for enrichment opportunities for their kids and for summer camps and perhaps even for childcare. We wanted to make sure our organization was doing what we could to advocate on behalf of parents and make sure they're aware of these policies, and then make sure the Trump administration understood that the recipient of this huge influx of federal funding was not following the law.
Sure. Okay. Your goal is well stated. I wanted to get on record with the YMCA's response here. So in a statement to Newsmax, the organization writing this, quote, "As members of a federated network, YMCAs operate independently from each other and YUSA. While each YMCA makes its own operational decisions at a local level, YUSA mandates all Ys have policies that protect the safety and privacy of their members and participants, especially children, in their care. As charitable organizations, YMCAs must abide by federal, state, and local laws. State laws about transgender inclusion in gendered spaces remain an ever-evolving topic. Considering this, YUSA advocates for the personal safety and privacy of all members and participants. YMCAs must abide by national membership qualifications. That includes mandated reporting of abuse incidents, child abuse prevention training for staff and high-access volunteers, and continuous sex offender registry checks for members." Alleigh, what's your response to this statement here that we received?
Well, that sounds like a whole lot of nothing. This whole thing could be resolved with a simple one-sentence policy statement, which is that all YMCA branches across the country must comply with federal law. And I didn't hear that at any point in that statement. And anything absent of that is an invitation for their branches to not comply with federal law.
Yeah, and getting back to the topic at hand, it's really not just the why, but we've seen this topic broaden out to schools, right? We've seen this broaden out to other gyms where there will be women entering a woman's facility. They will see a biological man there, makes them uncomfortable. They report it, and they find themselves on the opposite end of the criticism. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, in fact, what you're mentioning happened at a YMCA in Washington State not too long ago. There was an elderly woman, I believe in her 80s, where she was in the locker room changing her clothes and noticed that there was a man in there who was oogling some young girls. And she actually reported it to the front desk. She went out and said, "Hey, this is what's happening." And not only was she reprimanded and told that that individual was actually in the correct locker room, but she was banned for life from the YMCA. And this is not a one-off thing. Washington State, it's happened in California. There's been a case just as recently as April, so well after the Trump administration has changed Title IX. That was in Missouri. So it's coming up all over the country. It's not just happening in blue states; it's happening in red states as well. So one of the things that our organization does is we send out a lookout, which is a communication that we send to parents to make them aware of policies like this, because while our organization is reaching out to the government and also to the YMCA trying to get these policies changed, parents need to be aware of that and having these conversations with their kids and also with the leadership of their local YMCAs to see if they can affect change in their backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth checking in on if it's your young child who's changing in what you believe to be a certain gender's locker room, and then another person shows up. Totally understandable. Alleigh Marre, please keep us updated. Great to hear from you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.